What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay. This is the Monday Night Mastermind call. Tonight's topic is what we would do on eBay if we only had 10 hours a week. And the reason why I want to do this exercise is because we all have the same hours in the day. We're trying to get more out of it. And the exercise of only trying to compartmentalize your business in the 10 hours is pretty awesome to talk about. So we're going to get straight into it. Ashley, why don't you give us a win for the week and tell us what you would do if you only had 10 hours to work on eBay, which might not be too far from the truth.
Yeah, I wish, 10 hours is like, I want to spend 10 hours on eBay because currently it's probably 6 or 7 because I also split it with Amazon. But I did have a win this week. And so I've been ever since we talked about forming relationships and how the big sellers tend to have 8 to 10 relationships and suppliers. I'm like, wow, I just am so deficient in that. And that's something I really wanted to work on. So I've been focusing on that, and I found I sniffed around my local ads, found a guy who was liquidating something, and it looked interesting. And so I reached out, we communicated for a while, and he specializes in one thing, but he doesn't care about the other thing. And that's where I thought, well, there's an opportunity because I could take that he doesn't care about, just kind of the same way someone might focus in on clothing with an estate sale, but not pay attention to the books. And the books could be money too. So I thought, well, let's see how this goes. So he had a manifest of all the stuff and pictures. And I consulted with some people who knew what they were doing because I didn't with this, and 2 people, and they both, kind of gave the green light and said this would be an amazing deal. So I went ahead and I reached out to the guy and we coordinated pickup and everything. So it's definitely the most expensive. I'm going to be dropping about $4,000, but it could pay off. I mean, I don't want to it could pay off 10 times that. I hope. I don't know. I don't know everything about this arena, but it'll definitely be a nice payout. And if you think about it, I was talking to my husband, if this works out, I basically made a year's worth of income at some corporate job, part-time maybe, in just a few days, and then a week of listing, because there are multiples of these items. So I'll list once, I'll do good till cancel, and just let them slowly sell. And that's crazy to me. So I just need eight more of these relationships, and I'm done. So anyways, that was really fun. That'll be an interesting road to go down. And then so with that 10 hours, I mean, increasing my average sale price is my number one priority right now. To list, so I batch photograph everything in one day, and then to wake my store up every morning, lists 10 items. That's just kind of what I can do right now. And if those items are selling for $100 or more, I mean, pie in the sky, but that would be amazing. And then I'm making a great income. So with Amazon, I've increased my average sale price to $45. With eBay, it's at 30. I would love to increase it to 50 or more. So that's what I would focus on.
Very exciting. So why eBay and not Amazon with the car parts?
Um, Amazon is an option, and when I get them, I'll see how it goes. But I'm thinking that the boxes might have some denting, and Amazon requires new items to be perfect and pristine. Um, and shipping wise, I'm gonna have to ship. Some of them are big, and I'll have to ship them FedEx, Parcel Select, or whatever that cheapest one is. So I mean, yeah, some of the smaller ones though, I can see sending to Amazon for sure. There's some smaller parts, and there's some bigger parts. And so I'll have to kind of, divvy it up as I go. But I've heard that eBay is great for car parts because people kind of seem to go there, but I'm open to any input anyone has.
Awesome. If anybody wants to jump in with handling that, I just want to preface also, most seven-figure sellers I've talked to have mentioned 8 to 10 um, relationships. I think that's important because if one of your suppliers is off or something and doesn't have anything, also I've seen this in retail arbitrage. Kev does that. If you have 10 stores on the take, you're probably, or some kind of relationship, you're probably good for a little bit, at least to get to a certain level, because if one is slow or some reason, it will still work. Um, So I'm very happy that you were able to get one. So now you have 6 to 7 hours that you can spend on eBay. Actually, you split it. So maybe let's just say you have 3 hours a week to work on eBay. Where do you
Yeah.
decide what to use your time on? Is it 100% sourcing? What do you do?
Luckily, if this deal works out, I'll have plenty of inventory. It'll probably just be listing. Honestly, from now till Christmas, I have so much inventory that I can list. So I would just be listing. But yeah, I want to, if I had limited time, one of those days a week would probably be sourcing, or ideally using a wholesale source and just not even sourcing and having it come to me. um I mean, that's like, I don't know if that's wishful thinking, but I do have a good wholesale source that I've used, and that's has given me good stuff. So um honestly, it would probably just be spent listing. I don't even know that I would source a ton. Maybe garage sales. Garage sales, definitely 100%. Like, if you're not doing garage sales and you're starting out with limited income, you're making a big mistake, because that's where I've made the most connections, had the best deals, had the best like return on my investment. Um, you can stock up even all summer just on everything garage sales, and then just list slowly throughout the 6 months if you live in a state like I do that doesn't have year-round garage sales. um, and just list that through the winter and be successful. So yeah, definitely garage sales on Saturdays, and then batch photographing what I got at the garage sales, and then every morning just listing as I go, and then having our normal family day. That's probably what I would do, and that's what I'm currently trying to do.
I want to make one more comment on that. There's a lady in the mastermind group that doesn't know how to thrift, doesn't know how to do garage sales. So she started with wholesale.
Hmm.
And most people think that you have to garage sale, then thrift, then graduate into wholesale, but she didn't know how to do that. So she doesn't know how to do anything but wholesale. She literally Googled it. She met a couple of people locally and started there. As simple as that sounds, most people don't even just Google wholesale in their area or check for Craigslist for people who are selling stuff locally. It exists in every single state and every single area. It might be farm equipment, but it's going to be something that somebody's trying to sell. It's just interesting that I think a lot of us are just afraid of that, but
Mhm.
especially if you are a mom or limited time or if working a full-time job, a wholesale, or I think you're right. You should spend most of your time listing because you don't have the time to cherry pick.
Yeah, because the sourcing that gets out of control easily. Like, you can find tons of stuff. It's just a matter of, yeah, like you said, if consolidating that time you would be sourcing, and using that to list your stuff, because you're not, and then increase your, the amount in your store. That's what's going to get you the daily sales, not necessarily finding those fun deals. Those are great, but like, the listing is what gets you the money. So yeah.
Very important. And also, one more note on that: if you can find replenishables, like your law has a few replenishables, that also saves time. And that's a great segue into Kevin. Kevin, why don't you give us some wins for the week, or give us a win, and then talk about what you would do if you only had 10 hours a week? But actually, I think that might be not too far off how much time you actually do have.
Yeah, that's actually not far off from the amount of time that I do have. I would say that I spend a lot of time sourcing, but most of that's just drive time. I try to communicate with my stores before I go to them to make sure that everything's kind of in place. For example, over the past, I think it was in the course of 2 or 3 days, I sourced about 1,000 shoes. Um, that was just 2 days ago. So I posted a couple of them on my Instagram. Came across a collection that a friend of a friend had referenced to me. And the guy was awesome. I mean, it was really cool to actually get out there, look at product that isn't even available anymore, and just kind of communicate with him. That was awesome. That was about 70 pairs, and then the next morning, I think I did 500 pairs between 4 stores. Um, I'm sorry, 3 stores. 4 stores, I'm sorry, yeah, 4 stores, and that was between 8 a.m. to took me from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. But again, most of that was driving time. I think 3 hours of it was driving time. It's just they're so spread out. PA is a small place, but it's just there's so much ground to cover. So that was a win. I increased my average sale price. I'm not sure exactly what the metrics are. I know Chris is a numbers guy. Chris, I have numbers for you. I just don't want to take a shot in the dark at that, but I definitely have. I've changed up basically the whole idea of my store. I went from kind of going about it as running shoes and training shoes and everyday shoes, being great return on investments, but and very easy to source, to getting back to what I started with, which is actually having the Jordans, the retros, and they don't return as big of a percentage as far as ROI is concerned, but they do bring in a very high profit as far as dollars are concerned. You spend a little bit more, but the same sale, which is 3 times as quick, gets you double or even triple the amount you normally get on an everyday running shoe or training shoe. So it's harder to find, but I mean the stuff's out there, and I'm so knowledgeable about the product and about the market that I can pretty much spot on tell somebody how much it should go for if it's authentic, which is usually the biggest and hardest thing to do, and then how quickly I can get rid of it. And turnover time has been really, really good. So that was a huge win. I think I've increased so far. I haven't listed everything, but I think I've increased $20,000 in inventory on my site. So I'm almost at 100K listed, which will be crazy once I get to that mark. But yeah, so I've just been working.
What size is that collection?
So oh, and I didn't even mention this. This is the craziest part. He he's in his 40s. He used to own an SB store, and he's since passed on. He's done that job, and long story short, he's a size 9, but he has a friend that has 13 through 14. It's a 100 pair collection that is also going to be something. I'm actually pricing it tonight, so that'll be the next collection I go through.
That's really cool. The collections, if you're in a market where you understand the collectibles, you can add value with your knowledge. As an example, I'm starting to sell men's blazers, and there are people that know how to like clean them properly and present them properly. They sell the same thing for $50, $80 more. Same thing with you. If you have experience with authenticating sneakers and you put it on there and you take really high quality pictures, that gives people the confidence to purchase your product. Because I think a lot of times you'll see pictures that are blurry or one picture of the shoe, then it's very hard to tell if
Yeah.
it's authentic or not.
Right, you can usually tell by the quality of a picture if the shoe's even real without even really being able to see the
And if they
shoe.
put 100% authentic in the title, it's probably not authentic.
Right,
So
right, right.
most people don't do that. So you really only have about 10 hours. So that means you're doing the relationship setting up before you use the 10 hours.
100. I mean, I would say I spend more time. Obviously, I was thinking about it while Ashley was talking, and congrats, Ashley, on those are some huge wins. I was thinking about while she was talking. I spend a lot of time shipping shoes every day. I mean, I don't know if anybody tunes into my live videos. I've actually shown how I modify boxes and ship out my shoes every day. That usually takes me at least 40 minutes, and I do that every single day except Sundays. So I do spend a ton of time on the business. I wouldn't say, I mean, during a normal work week, I wouldn't say that I spend, I think that it is relative. And I think that 10 hours is fair. I would say somewhere between 10 to 15 would be an average.
You doing your own listing, right?
Correct.
Would you save any time pre-packaging?
I would. And actually, I was looking at it. Somebody ordered something, and the address was wrong for the order. So ended up, the order was canceled because I had to get it out in the time frame that I'm allotted, and the shoe was already packaged up. So I just wrote on the package like where I would put the label, what the shoe is, and I put that back onto the shelving system that we have in the store. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, I could honestly just pre-package everything as long as I know where my items are. I just need to know what size is in that box, and it's already done. So yeah, I mean, I could do that. It would probably save me a boatload of time.
Also, a quick question on that. And the whole
Sure.
point of this call is to challenge people to change their mentality. You had mentioned, because I have definitely added in. I've always done the hype piece, high average sale price sneakers, but I
Mhm.
never did the running shoe part. But the first time I tried arbitrage with the card that you gave me, I basically was able to buy 7 or 8 pairs of the same shoe,
Right.
which is unbelievable. So even at
Yeah.
a small margin, that's awesome. So I think if you had limited time, you could only pick one, would you pick rare, move faster, high, expensive to buy and sell, or?
It's tough. So like, again, I went too far one way. I looked at things like, I looked at things as numbers, and I didn't take a lot of things into consideration. So the running shoes, for example, just to give people a breakdown, my average purchase price for running shoes around $30, and I return 35% on my investment. So I forget. I don't even know, Chris. What is that? 35% on $35. What is that?
12 bucks,
Like
$11.
$12. There you go. 11. I think it was 11 was exactly how I had figured it. So I was making $11 profit per shoe after fees and everything else. My retros, I was making $20 to $50 profit on, but I was spending closer to 60 to $160 to get them. So I was spending way more. So the way I looked at it was the return on investment was not the same. The higher return on investment was the best place to put the money. The problem with that is when you're buying those types of products, they sit for longer. What I'll sell a running shoe in, I might sell, a couple a week or something like that. But I will tell you, since I've put up the retros and, the newer sportswear models that are coming out from the Air Max 97s and so on and so forth, they're selling every day. So, I mean, I'm literally turning them over in less than a week. So it's like, yes, and it's funny because, I would have to sell 3 of that running shoe to get the same profit I would get on one of the more popular, better known shoes. So I mean, everything has to be factored in when you're placating that.
That's a great point. I think it's only expensive if it doesn't sell, because it's just
Right.
tying up your money if it's stuck there and doesn't do anything. And this is why when people are suggesting a home run long tail method, they want really low cost of goods if you're going to try
Sure.
to home run people. But if you're, you can spend 100 to make 120 if it's 2 days or a week or something. Sure. So
And I do want to say too, I mean, I haven't had a, eBay store and really have done this for as long as most people think that I have. And I look at everything as learning, right? So like in that same time where I basically did the running shoes and the training shoes, and I really kind of neglected any of the retros and stuff like that, which is what actually got me into shoes. I wouldn't have traded that for the world, because at the beginning stages, I had such a fixed amount of money. I invested a certain amount. And for me, the best return on investment was the best way to go. And now that I've flipped that money over and over and over and over and over again, and we have so much, I can't even source, with the amount of money that we pull in through the store every month, I couldn't source all of that in running shoes that are costing me $30. I mean, it would just be ridiculous to have that much. So it is nice now that, I built up my business or my brand to the point now where I have that kind of income that I could buy $5,200, Jordans, or 60, $160 Air Maxes. It doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, it's just putting the money into product and getting the money back out to buy more product. It's just rinse and repeat.
awesome. So last question. You are doing both now, right? Or are you just trying to switch to the retro model completely?
No. I'm still gonna. I mean, I think one of the big questions we had talked about having in this mastermind call was trying to figure out how we could have stuff that's basically $10 profit items, are so easy to find, and you can build your store off of it. I still think that there is a mixture, and I think that honestly, I would probably, if I had to break it down, I would probably do 70% of my store is that. I think that having that balance, if somebody comes to my store to find one of the shoes behind me, like, $500 pair of Jordans, and they see that, and they, that's what they want, but they, money, whatever it is, and then they see a running shoe that fits their price range better or works for them better. I mean, I'm happy to have all of it. I love sneakers, so I'm just happy to be doing sneakers. I could sell a lot of things. I really just do it because I like being immersed in the culture of it. So
I'm
just
gonna
learning anything about the product.
I'm gonna drop some heat because I know you and Ashley may have to leave a little early, so I just want to give you guys a tip that's helped me like crazy, which is I'm using Terapeak now to do research on the categories that I sell in, and this
Okay.
is insane. But like just as an example, in used clothing, 80% of it sells under $20, which is insane, right? So that means, and actually, not very many sell under $10, which I was surprised. I thought there was going to be a lot of sub $10 items, but they're not. There's most of it's between 10 and 20. So like, for example, if you were closer to the higher end, let's say you're trying to get 21 bucks or $22 shipped, you're literally only advertising the 20% of the eBay market. But if you're in the, say, let's say like $12 shipped range, there's a lot of people are in that bucket. Like we were looking at, I was looking at King of E-commerce. He does 100,000 a month, and his average sale price is like $11 because he's in the massive, huge population playing in that category, right? So it's important to know that as you move high, I think the Jordans are magical because even though they're expensive, there's not very many. Like every single Jordan I picked up over the weekend, there's less than 10 on eBay, and the prices are all over 200 or whatever. So it's kind of crazy how the demand is so high and yet the supply still remains that low, even with that many styles. It's kind of an anomaly category.
Sure.
But
And
I'd be
actually, out of the
curious
collection,
on
I was.
Terapeak.
Go ahead.
On Terapeak, if you were to type in certain styles, I'd be really curious, like where the majority of shoes are sold. I bet you it's under $80, 40 to 80. I bet is probably where most shoes are sold. But I actually have
I would
no idea.
imagine
I'll
so. I
look
think my average sale price before was like $70. So I would imagine it's somewhere in there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to Sam. Sam, tell us a win for the week, and then tell us what you would do if you only had 10 hours a week, but that might be what you actually have.
All right. So the win for me this week, actually, like what I was searching like a couple of weeks ago, like the athletic gears and stuff, like clothing. So the guy turned out to be reseller as well, but he doesn't sell on eBay. So I'm going to try to have a good relationship with him, so I can just buy like in bulk, hopefully in the future, because he have really high priced items for a really low price. Last time I went there, I got a couple of stuff for like 450, but I ended up making that money back with just 2 items, and I still have over like 50, 60 items left. So I'm going to try to build that relationship. I think he's really friendly, so I think it will, I think I can work some with him. And so if I have 10 hours to work on eBay, sometimes, that's the time I have. But what I would do is like 4 hour sourcing max. That's max. Like if I go to garage sale, I can do 3 hour and like, just use that 1 hour to sort online. Yeah, pretty much. I think that's enough. After that, it's all about listing. If you just bring in inventory, if you hold on to it, you're not going to make any money. So I'll just bring in the inventory, list. Yeah, that's how it is. So I think that'll be, 6 hour listing and 4 hour sourcing. That'll be good.
I think it's inspirational because you're also in school. Prince is not on the call today. He's also in school. Will you guys still find a way?
Yeah, it's all like, I don't know if you guys have seen my Instagram story today. Basically, I have it actually in my pocket as well. So basically, like I write down pretty much everything I do for 3 days, like the major stuff, and I just check them out. Because I have limited amount of time, and I'm trying to scale this business to the max. I'm trying to get it. So I really don't want distractions. So one of the ways to keep me, going is just, by checking like what I have to do this. Okay, what's the big thing that I need to knock down? Because since I'm in the school, like I have so many things, projects, assignments, homeworks that's due, like in different times. So I have to actually just manage my time, right, and make sure that I don't, miss any work or miss something. So I always try to get things in order, and it's all about time management. So yeah.
I think that's amazing to think about because you have a limited amount of time and it's so easy to lose focus. I mean, this is classic. Like every single success book says you should have a 3x5 card in your pocket of the 3 things you need to get done that day, and you don't go to sleep until those 3 things are done. And if you get those 3 things done early, then go on Instagram, right? So make sure you get those 3 things done first, the major pieces in. And for eBay, it's definitely listing, sourcing, probably research is probably the third one. I want to just point out another tip that I got from another reseller, which was your ASP and your profit go up the more knowledge you have in a specific niche. So if you're complaining about your ASP, which a lot of people are, spend more time in whatever you don't you definitely should not change categories. You can increase the ASP by just focusing on what you already sell and trying to get a little bit of an edge. If you know, like the word outerwear will bring in another 20% of searches, you're going to have a bigger pool to sell to, but if you didn't do any research, you wouldn't know outerwear is a popular key term. If you're not spending time looking at your competition, you don't really get into your niche. I've seen listings that are that don't sell, even though they have great items, because they're just not optimized. So I think that it's really important to do that. That's cool. Any tips for students out there who want to start?
Yeah, so it's like if you want to start, what you want to do is obviously like since they're in the school, they're gonna have really low capital, and having you can't just hold on to a lot of items. What they want to do, what they should do is like when they first start, if they have a job, keep that job because that's one way they can bring in like money so they can reinvest. I started with $100, like it's been over like a year and 2 months. So basically, it's all about not losing your focus. Just because you have money, you don't have to spend that money like somewhere else. Just be conservative. Just hold on to it for a little longer. And once you get to a certain point, you can start spending whatever you want to do. But if you want to really grow this business, it's all about time management, and you don't really want to waste your time being somewhere else. For example, like if you're a student, you want to study as hard as you can because you need to have really good grades to get a really great job. If you don't study, if you're average, you're gonna get an average job, And so if you want to be a reseller, you just want to work hard. Basically, you have to figure out ways to source, figure out ways to find items, how to figure out a system how you can maximize your business by having small amount of time, and figure out basically it's all about the process. Like I try to figure out ways how I can scale this business me by not being there. I'm literally working on it step by step because once you figure that out, you're set. Like you can bring people in if you don't have time. Like I'm going to work and I'm going to school, right? So I'm thinking about having people list, come to my place, list, and I already have like electronics going on in the warehouse. So I have already trained somebody to do everything. I go there just to check up on them. If something happens, they give me a call. I go there, check it on, and we're doing it's the numbers. They're crazy. Like I don't share with public, but
Yep.
it's crazy. So
You strike me as someone who still gets good grades, though.
yeah, I'm actually on the dean list. So
see?
Yeah. It's all about time management. Like I don't go to parties, I don't go anywhere. It's all about the husband. Like people know me, they'd be like, so I go to sleep 3-4 o'clock sometime, So it's all about the type of set of mind you have. If you really want to be successful, you don't see like things that will distract you as a excuse. So yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Mary, why don't you give us a win for the week and tell us what you would do if you only had 10 hours a week to resell?
Okay, so starting with the win, I think we touched on a lot of topics that were very similar. When you said when you stay in your niche, right? One of the wins that I did was when after 2 weekends ago, the event that we went to, you took us sourcing to a location, and I picked up so many different items that increased my average sale price. Which at that point I was still picking up the items that I was good at, like the things that were in my niche, but I was buying them at such a much lower cost and finding different type of brands that increase my ASP. And I think just narrowing it down kind of brought them to my win, which is where I increased my ASP. And I'm having trouble, though. I'm not going to say this is a win because it's not maintaining 500 above 500. It just keeps going down, and I just have to keep pacing myself to keep that up higher. But a win would be I did a really good weekend this past weekend, and my ASP is up. And I'm continuously using the sourcing guide under that growth tab, which is providing a lot more knowledge for the keywords that I need to use or the winter items that I need to be picking up now, because I have to be much more pickier as we enter Q4 because I'm trying to, like you say, get rid of the $9 or like the $10 to make it into a higher audience. So that'd be probably one of my wins. If I had 10 hours to dedicate for eBay, I would prioritize, and this is just because I need to know my numbers and my business model, would be bookkeeping. I know I brought it up many times, but I think if you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business. And I would definitely focus my bookkeeping at least 2 hours of my 10. And I would do more of online sourcing and wholesale. I think doing more research hands-on and then get these items coming to you would kind of take up the time for you to be out in the field looking for the like picking for items as opposed to saving the time sourcing and then probably the listing would take more time and then the shipping would come in with an hour or two.
That's a really good point. And I think it's important for people to realize that I'd say half of the resellers that I know that have a 7-figure business were CPAs. Like almost half of the people I know that made it. Like if you're looking for a transferable skill to make it into reselling in college, it's probably accounting. So I mean, if you really understand your numbers, you know how much is coming in, then you know it immediately tells you what to buy. But if you don't understand your numbers, that's a huge issue. And if you're an accountant, I think you're constantly thinking about how to decrease expenses, and you're going to start optimizing. And we want to all increase our ASP, reduce our expenses at the same time. So I mean, you can sell the same thing and get it for cheaper, like you just mentioned. And instead of trying to get a higher ASP, increase the net margin at the end of the day, which is, they say that revenue is vanity. So it's going to try to make it so we get more. So do you have any advice for people who are really crunched on time to get maybe a little bit more out of their 10 hours?
I think just be aware of the time, like Sam mentioned, time management. Just be aware of what your time is going, and if it's going too much into sourcing, you're at the stores for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not finding anything within the hour or so, then maybe it's a different location, or try a different approach, maybe in a different platform, maybe on OfferUp or Craigslist. I mean, just monitor your timing and see where you're spending the most. It's not making you, any money, and cut down on it, like you would cut down on expenses.
I think that's a great point. And Holly, who's not on the call today, said that when she first started, she would go to the thrift stores and take a notebook and write what's available in her area to see if she could find common items. That's a great way to do it. Spend your time researching first. I think, Mary, you posted like the Abraham Lincoln quote that says, however many hours he had to chop down a tree, he would spend the first few sharpening the saw. I think that's an excellent analogy for this because I think it's both. You need to sharpen the saw. You also need to sell lots of things. So a lot of times people who sell a lot of things, they just start chopping and they learn a lot of stuff there. But I would say do both. Sharpen the saw and sell a lot of things. Just start chopping. Don't just only sharpen the saw and never go outside.
Sure, but then the chopping would be a little bit more energy, but it'll be worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can chop down the tree with a stick if you're persistent enough. It's going to take a long time though. So it just depends on your goal. But I think if you make a bunch of reseller friends, they're going to ask you not to use a stick and use something more sharp. So awesome. So let's get to Laura. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to give us a win for the week and then also give us an idea of what you would do if you only had 10 hours, which may not be far from your schedule with kids?
Yeah. So a win would be like I'm actually doing exactly what we're talking about. Like I am narrowing down my schedule to really be like more profitable for my time, right? The biggest thing that I've been focusing on right now is my inventory. Like I'm changing what I'm looking for, what I'm sourcing. Like I'm not doing anything without a plan. Similar to what Sam does, I have 3 things that I have to do on a daily basis, and it changes per day, like whether it's pictures, whether it's, listing all day, sourcing, whatever. I have to narrow it down. I have to pick and choose. I can't do them all every day. Obviously, I do shipping almost every day, but I think the biggest thing for me right now is what you were talking about earlier when you were saying how in the used clothing category, how only like 20% are above a certain amount of money. I'm basically planning my store around eBay. So like, for instance, 10 to 20% of my items in my store will be that higher price point. And then the rest of it will be, kind of right in that sweet spot, because I've noticed for me, especially with my higher dollar items, my returns are ridiculous. Like, it's just a fact of life. It'll help my ASP, like what you guys were talking about. But if I'm selling, you know, $15 items, or I'm selling two $50 items, like, it balances out whatever your ASP is. But price, like cost of investment, I feel like is where most people get it wrong. Like, they'll pay up for something and then they'll end up still making the exact same amount of money that something for $15 would have sold for if you got it for 50 cents. You know what I mean? Like, the percentage is what I'm focusing on. So like 10 to 20% of my store will be high dollar items. You know, probably about 60% will be between like that $40 to $20 range. And then I'll have some low end items that I can throw up on auctions to show, or to just like get my viewings up for my other listings, you know? So that's what I'm really focusing on right now. My time is the actual inventory I have, and then a system for sourcing later based on that inventory, what I'm short in, you know, as far as sizes, like for plus size clothing, obviously sells a lot better because the average sizable woman is a size 14 in the United States. So plus size clothing will sell faster. It's just a fact of life. And I have to focus more on that because I find more higher end clothing in smaller sizes. So if I'm going to have a faster sell-through rate, I'm going to have to find lower dollar items that are plus size. And that's just used clothing facts, you know? So that's what I'm focusing basically all my extra energy on my inventory system, because if I'm not keeping track of the investment that I already have made, then what's the point in just buying more inventory if I'm not keeping track of what I already have, you know?
That's a good point. I just want to bring in, I mean, that makes sense to me. There's a lot of moms that don't have time, so they only source expensive stuff because they don't have time to ship very many items. You know, if you make, let's say, $50 profit per item, then you would only, if you had a $100 goal profit per day, you only need to sell 2 items. But in the higher category, you may only have a 5% a month sell-through rate, which is not uncommon for more expensive rare items. So you may need, if you want to sell 2 a day, 60 items, you may need 120 items to sell 1 a day of $50 profit, versus if you source 10 $1 items that's sold for 15 plus shipping or something, that would be more time on the front end sourcing and listing and shipping. So I would say maybe literally 10 times more time, but you would get your money back 10 times faster. Maybe not 10 times faster, maybe 3 times as fast. But I think it's important to realize if your time is really skinny, um, I would recommend either fast cash or expensive.
I would disagree. I would have to say a mix between both. Because if you are putting all your eggs in one basket when it comes to fast cash, you're going to be shipping a ton of items a day. Like, in order to even make a dent in what, like, expect to be shipping 20 to 30 items a day in order to make a decent income on a fast flip like that. But if you have like those 1 or 2 items that put your ASP just a little bit higher for that day sales goals wise, then it's fine. And you know, that's why I feel like having sourcing goals, not just sales goals, are so important. Like, to know your inventory well enough to know what you're going out and looking for, you know? Like, for instance, for me, like when I'm going to the bins, unless it's something from now on, unless it's something that is either plus size, like I know is going to be a fast flip for me, even if it's just a $15 flip, or something that I know is highly sought after and a very special brand, or a very special piece, vintage piece, whatever, that will get that high dollar return. Because those in between items that are either not fast flips or the high dollar, that's where I feel like people get stuck. Like that middle of the line, they have like a full store of all of that. And that's where they're not turning fast, or they're not doing the slow dollar sale. Like, it's not either one. It's kind of smack dab in the middle, and it's harder for them to grow because they're not going both ways. you know?
I would agree. Slow and low profit is not the right model, guys. So if we can avoid buying things that take a long time and don't make any money, that would be good. But you're going to make mistakes in the beginning. Not all brands are not all items within the same brand sell well. I bet you there are still Gucci items that have a really low ASP and don't sell well. So got to make sure you know what you're buying. Condition is huge. I think that's a huge mistake for people. If you find something really cheap that's expensive, most likely there's something wrong with it. So you're gonna have to do some research before you pull the trigger. Um, but if you're handy with sewing or something, you may be able to replace buttons on broken stuff like that to really increase the value. I think is good too. If you are limited on budget, you either need to get your money back or get a lot back for your money, or do both, as Laura suggested. So let's see. For me, if I only had 10 hours a week, I actually made way more money when I only had 10 hours a week than when I went full time at first. Because when I was at 10 hours a week, I was only sourcing really expensive stuff. Last year during fourth quarter, I think I did 17,000 every single month with only 10 hours because I was only sourcing really expensive items. But the margin was lower, but overall still made more than when I first went full time because it was tempting because I was like, everything profitable I'm going to pick up. But now I'm sort of doing both because I have enough capital that I do not need to discount any long tail items ever. I can just wait for them to sell. And in the fast flip, I'm not using any of my own time. So the
Yeah.
fast flip now, 4 days in a row, I've listed over 100 items. And I'm just so psyched that that's not possible on your own. Like if you try to do it by yourself, you will burn out. I think you'll be mentally destroyed if you try to list 100 items every day for a whole month, and then try to keep a $30 ASP. So I was like, I'm just going to reach this 6-figure goal in 1 month. Why not? Just list all $130 items a day. But it's really exhausting, and I have the ability to work 100 hours a week on this business. So it's hard for me to realize that. That's why I want to do this exercise a little bit selfishly, because I want to make better use of my time and really find out how people are doing it. And there are people that literally part-time net 6 figures on eBay because they become so good at their niche. Either they're selling 100% of their items every month, which is also crazy. If you only source, let's say, Christmas toys, you can make a fortune in 3 months if you know which toys. If you stay ahead of the curve, there are people that buy the hot toys in July because they already know. They're already starting to stockpile it. They're on sale at that time, popular items. And then by the time Christmas hits, the 3 weeks before, they make all their money. So it's very interesting looking at the different models. But there's a lot of part-timers out there, people who are full-time wanting to make the best use of their time. So why don't we talk about something that we want to work on this week, and then we'll call it a night. Let's go in reverse order. Laura, what would you like to work on this week? And what can we keep you accountable for next Monday?
I updated my picture setup. I got a bunch of new lights. So I'm hoping to take more pictures at nighttime now after my kids go to bed. So I'm either like, to use advantage of my time, I'm either going to take pictures at night or get up early and list. So I have one or two choices. So then during the day, I can either, ship, work on inventory, do back end stuff, or source. And that, so please pray for me that I get my butt out of bed and get a list.
For sure.
And I do.
Okay. Laura? I'm not Laura. Mary. Sorry. Laura just went.
Yeah, so I've been steadily getting the groove into to list. I listed, I think, 25. I mean, I don't do 100, Chris, because I'm not there yet. But I could see myself going a little bit faster every time. So I've at least got down 25 a day minimum. And if I could keep going to the end of the year and hit that 1K active, hopefully. But just keep up that pace for that 25 minimum listing a day. And it feels like you said, is you're getting pumped and you feel like you just go and don't get in my way because I'm going. So just keep going, keep it that streak.
How many items do you take pictures? Do you batch or do you go straight in a row?
All photos, so it'll be like all the shoes and then all the long sleeves, all the flat lace, and then all the mannequins.
Okay.
Is your tactic? Are you got advice for me to do a little faster?
I just draft first. For
Yeah.
some reason that works better for me.
Photos.
So
And then-
drafting and then the photos and then right now I'm trying a reverse process where it's just photos and then my VA drafts, which is great because I get 100% of my time back. Every day when I wake up now, there's 100 drafts ready for me to launch, right? Which has made it amazing. However, it's not faster than drafting first because you catch more flaws when you draft first, then photograph after, then add the photos in. For me, I have way less defects. When I take photos, sometimes I'm not paying attention as much as when I'm holding it drafting, but it's not scalable. So I've just accepted that there's going to be more returns with this higher model and doing the best I can. And my return rate, luckily, has not gone up yet. I'm expecting it to though, because I think it'll go close to 4%. It's only two something right now, low twos, but I'm expecting it to double. But that's okay with twice as many listings, having a few errors. Oh, also, I'm 100% okay with my photographs being 80% as good and my listings being 80% as good. I'm okay with that. Um, because I can go back and fix it. And of the 400 listings that I did the last 4 days, I had to fix 43. 43 were below acceptable, and I had to go back and redo them myself. So I'm going to work on it. But the thing is, I think people need to be patient when they hire people. Don't fire people or get rid of people because they don't do it perfect because they're not you. It's going to take a while to do it. I have diagrams drawn of how I want photos taken. They look at the diagrams before they do it every day to try to adjust, but it takes practice. So
But
I
that's 10%
think,
not bad.
yeah,
I mean, that's 10% of 400, right? That's
yeah,
not bad.
it's not bad, but yeah,
Can I speak to the moms out there for a
go
second?
for it. Go for it.
I feel like for me, I need to hire a housekeeper and a nanny. And because honestly, if I'm going to be 100% honest, like I feel like what you were saying, it takes so much time to train people, right? I mean, and you have to do all that back end work like when they first start and making sure that everything's doing right. So for my business to be scalable, I feel like it would almost be easier for me to hire out for other things in my life than it would be to hire out for my business right away, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's 100% true. If you can get yourself to, I would say even 100 to 200 listings a week, then I feel like you have the ability to hire. Most people hire too early. I hired too early. So soon, like I had no idea what I was doing and just said okay. But the thing is, if you don't know what your benchmark is that you want them to do 80% of, then it's a struggle. And like I have been buying food that is no dish that doesn't have any dishes. I have a chart of how to clean my bathroom now, so it's I don't like it just never gets dirty to begin with. I'm really trying to focus on stuff like that so that I can reduce cleaning time, um, where I'm trying to simplify my wardrobe. You're right. All that time, you need to get all that time back in your schedule before you hire. I totally agree with that. That's why successful people lay their clothes out the night before. A lot of people invest in meal prep, which I'm trying. So I'm excited for no dishes and no cooking. Um,
I
because-
enjoy cooking. I do spend
Me
time to do
too.
that. And I do like, obviously, I'm not going to get a nanny, but I might hire a housekeeper, stuff like that. I think it's good to have balance. Speaking of which, my kids are about to break through the door.
That's
So
why, wealthy
Yep.
people outsource all the cleaning stuff. They have better things to focus on than cleaning. But like you, Chris, I think we've set a day. Like, I think Sundays now are cleaning days, so we set the week and we don't have to clean until next Sunday. I mean, we touch up things, but you leave things to not be done anymore, like you would for your kid. Yeah.
Yep. Sam, what do you want to work on this week?
So this week, actually, I'm going to try to work as much as possible on Amazon because on the 7th, if you don't send in a shipment, they're going to close you for Black Friday. So on the 7th, by the 7th, you need to ship everything that you need to, like, they're not going to list it after that. It's just going to be, they're going to have it on hold. So before the 7th, I need to make a lot of shipments because Black Friday. So
You need to make
yeah,
moves. All right.
yeah.
Great. That's
So
great. I
Yeah.
also, last tip, guys, I think that there's seasons. You may have time to get a bunch of stuff done before my girlfriend's studying for an exam right now. So it's like crush time, because I have, or Sam, do you have a girlfriend?
No, never had one.
Okay. I have factored in girl time is at least 20 hours a week. And that's if you're doing a good job. If you're not doing a good job being a boyfriend, it's much higher than that. So like that's a big chunk of your week. All the people that are listening right now that are single, or if your significant other is going out of town or something, really make hay during that time because it's so rare, especially as you get older. You're going to have less and less time. We all have the same hours in the day, and that was the point of this call. So everybody make sure if you are single, make as much money as possible and just stay in a holding pattern and then also budget when you are in a relationship. Oh yeah. Last tip of the night. Then we're really going to call it a thing. I think I've been doing a really, really good job of not having my relationship drop. That's saved me a lot of time. Most of the people I know in relationships spend a lot of time fixing their relationship. So you at least maintain your relationship because repairing is so time consuming. You're going to be emotionally destroyed if you don't take care of your relationships. That's the most important part of life. eBay is your kid also, or Amazon, but you have real human influences too. So everyone have a great week, and I'll see you guys next week.